How did the kids say it? I'm back at it again. That's how they say it. I know that's how the kids say it. Another unedited one because I'm lazy and it's fun. It makes me think about what I say more carefully. And who doesn't want to do that? Today we're talking about my most disappointing books of 2024. I was about to say 2025 because I'm used to saying that now. I'm not going to have a video ever about my worst books, but this is as close as you can get. I didn't read any books that were like extremely horrible, like not well written or whatever. And if I did, I'd probably DNF them. If I'm not interested in a book, or I just don't like the writing style or something, or I'm not invested in the characters or whatever, I usually just DNF it. These are books that I finished, but were still disappointing. And I think in order for them to be disappointing, that means that you went in with expectations that were not met. So really, if I wanted to make this video 5 minutes, I could have just led with that and just told you all the titles. But I'll explain a little more in detail. Alright, this is, I think, chronologically to when I read them. So the first one is Another Brooklyn. I think this is by Jacqueline Woodson. This is my first Jacqueline Woodson book. She wrote Brown Girl Dreaming. You may have heard of that. I also want to read that one. But this is just an author that I've heard like nothing but good things about. So I went in knowing that. And also, I think it was Jack Edwards that said that this was like a little diminished, like a not as heartbreaking version of A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. I don't think I'm ever going to read that book, but I was expecting to have a similar reaction to people that read that book, as in crying or something. None of that happened. It's a pretty short book. I read it kind of in a sitting, like in one area. I listened to it like 2 times speed, and I was doing something else while listening to it, and I'm not gonna lie, I could have put in more effort, because for me, listening to an audiobook while doing something else, it's just hard. Because as it's been proven, multitasking is not actually a thing. You're always paying more attention to one thing, a specific task more than another, even when you think you're multitasking. Or I guess I should say multitasking the most effectively isn't really a thing. Anyways, so yeah, I think I was hanging up laundry. And I don't know, I never felt interested in what was happening. I don't remember a single character name. I know it takes place in New York by the title. It just wasn't it for me, unfortunately. Alright, next book is Circe by Madeline Miller. This was, I think, on the New York Times Reader's Best Top 100 Books of the 21st Century. It was disappointing to me. I was interested at the beginning, and then I just found myself reading it to finish it. So yeah, that's really all I have to say about that. You're welcome. Okay. But I will read, I don't know, does Madeline Miller have other books besides Song of Achilles and this? I did enjoy the Song of Achilles, and I have a video if you want to check it out. I can edit, if I could, I would link it. But yeah, I'm open to reading other books by the same author, just this book I did not like. Then we have the final revival of Opal and Nev by Donnie Walton, I think. I heard about this book, I think, from Barnes & Noble, saying, if you like Daisy Jones, read this. I love Daisy Jones and the Six. It's one of my favorite books. My favorite it's in my top 9 books of all time. That was a video where I reconstruct my home library. If you want to know what those top 9 books are, you should watch that video. But yeah, I went in knowing that this was about black people and it was about music, and I was like, sign me up. I don't know, it was very long. I just wasn't as invested in the characters or the music that they wrote as I was for Daisy Jones and the Six, and for those 2 reasons mostly, it was not what I wanted to be. It was disappointing. I did recognize one of the readers of the book, Andre DeShields, from the musical Hadestown. That's where I know him from. He played the original Hermes, so that's fun listening to his voice in an audiobook, but yeah, I don't. Yeah, I think the most disappointing aspect was how long it was and how like uninterested I was most of the time. And then we have The Year of Magical Thinking by Joan Didion. I just had heard that it was a really good book. I heard that it would make me cry, and it didn't. Maybe because I have had an experience, like immense loss, while reading it. It may hits better when you're in a period of grief. I could do that. I could read it again when that comes, although I hope it doesn't. But, yeah, I don't know. I finished it. I read it pretty quickly, but I don't remember a single thing about it. Now we have Notes on an Execution by Danya Kukafka, I think. Um, this is an objectively well-written book. I read it in like 3 days. I was invested. It was interesting. I finished it, and I was like, why did I read that? Kind of like A Little Life, just like something I don't want to experience again. If I'm being honest, it's probably because it's in the perspective of a serial killer, and I don't like being in the head of one. I found out, at least this specific one, I guess. I can read other books by the author, but I don't know. I appreciated this book. I don't know, I wanted to. I could never say that I love this book, and I guess I wanted to really like have an admiration about it or something, which is an interesting thing going into a book knowing that it's about a serial killer. I don't know what I was expecting, but yeah, I don't know. I just said that. They're There by Tommy Orange. Yeah, hard hitting ones. Another one that is very popular. Um, I, I I can't remember this book. I think there are lots of characters to follow around, and I just was not interested in following that many characters. Um, I'm interested in Wandering Stars, which the author also wrote. So, but this one was not. It was very hyped up. It was very hyped up. I guess I should have mentioned like some of these books are hyped up because of like maybe creators that I appreciate the opinion of. They liked it, and that's why I read it. Or it's a book that like I had just wanted to read for a while. And yeah, both if in, both of those affect um, whether or not it was on this list. Like both of those things could have happened. This should not have been a non-editing video because I'm not doing well. Anyways, Why Fathers Cry at Night by Kwame Alexander. Kwame Alexander is an author that I really really love. Two of his books, two, are on my top 9. Yep, top 9 books of all time. This was his first nonfiction book that I've read. I think, yeah. It's also in verse, which I love verse. So that's definitely not like something I. That's not the negative part of this. Why I didn't like it, why it was disappointing. I just wasn't interested. Maybe I'm more interested in. I I can read a memoir if it's a good memoir. I don't know what makes a good memoir for me, but this one wasn't. It's for me. Next, Come and Get It by Kylie Reed. Now, this author wrote another book that I read, which I really, really liked, which I think was on like my favorite books of 2022 or 23. Such a Fun Age. I love that book. I also kind of want to reread it. But Come and Get It is the author's second book, and since I loved it so much, Such a Fun Age, I went in thinking I'd love it as much. That just did not happen. It takes place in a college, which I'm in college. This is my first year, and it follows freshmen as well. It had all the potential, but the execution wasn't there. The chapters ended, I feel, just like abruptly. I did not care that much about most of the characters. There is one that's kind of stuck with me, and like I remember her name and what happened to her, but outside of that, like not really. And just because of how much I love Such a Fun Age, it disappointed me. Another factor, other than it's being like a book that I wanted to read or a book that's been hyped up, is if I've read another book by the author which I liked. And yeah, okay. The Death of Vivek Oji by I think it's Akwaeke Emezi. don't know if it was, if I'm, okay. I bought it at McNally Jackson in New York, and it said tearjerker, and I was like, bet. I've never sobbed at a book. Funnily enough, I did cry more than once while reading a book for the first time this year, 2025. Um, why do I mention that? But yeah, if a book says it's gonna make me cry, or people say a book is gonna make me cry, I'm gonna read it, unless it's A Little Life, I guess. And I didn't shed a tear. I didn't shed a tear. But I was attached to the characters. I think, like this book and Notes on an Execution, it's not like I hate them or anything. It's not like I wouldn't read Notes on an Execution again. I may read The Death of Viva Goji, like I'm not adverse to it, if that's the word. It's just that they're just like, there's a taboo thing that happens in this book that I just can't support. I won't support. And that really, that one thing is enough for it to be disappointing. Because, like, I don't want to read that thing happening in a book. Yeah, it was well written. It took place in Africa, which my, like, parents are from. I recognize some, like, slang terms, even though it's not, like, the book doesn't take place in the same country as where my parents are from, but there's still, like, some similar, like slang terms. So yeah, like, I wanted to like this so much, but that thing happened. So, um, yeah. Clap When You Land, Elizabeth Acevedo. The culprit of this is that I've read 2 other Elizabeth books, Clap When You Land, and no, that's the book I just read. The title of The Poet-X and With the Fire on High. I really like With the Fire on High, and I liked The Poet-X, not sure. This one just I didn't like it. And this is one of the few books that I also ditched the audiobook for. And I decided that it would be more worth my time if I were to read it by myself. I just wasn't invested in these characters. This is also, I guess, the first, like, dual perspective book that I've read from her, so maybe that's another reason, but it's okay. It was, I think, like, I took a break after I had just started it, and then when I came back, I was just not as interested. Yeah, I don't know exactly why this didn't work for me, but it didn't. Cracked Out to Be by Courtney Summers. This is Courtney Summers' first novel, and I love Sadie, one of her other novels, and basically this was not as good as Sadie at all. The main character wasn't as interesting. That's basically the main thing I could think of. Oh no, it was just, I didn't like it. I did not like it, and I returned it. I bought the book and then I returned it. No, I didn't return it. I gave it to Goodwill because I just didn't need it taking space. Yeah. Okay, The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store, James McBride. The 2023 Barnes & Noble Book of the Year. Most disappointing for me. Just high expectations. I was interested at the beginning, and then it just went on and on and on. Too many characters. I wasn't interested in them. That's the reason. I actually finished the 2024 Book of the Year, James by Percival Everett, yesterday night, like at 11:55 or something. I was speeding the clock. I was racing the clock. And I did like that one, if you wondered. And I also read the Lessons in Chemistry, which was the 2022 Book of the Year, last year. I did like that too. So, Barnes & Noble was wrong, in my opinion, in 2023. But 2022 and 2024, they were right. I understand. But this one, I just don't. I did not love it. I did not like it. Can't remember a single character's name. Like, I don't care. I didn't care while I was reading it. I don't care that it hasn't stuck with me, like nothing. I don't really have any thoughts about it. Okay. Beautiful Lives. Wayward Lives, Beautiful Experiments. Saidiya Hartman. This was in the top 100 books of the 21st century. It was interesting at the beginning. I don't know. I guess this is another one which I don't really have specific problems with it, but it was just it was I wasn't interested for the full time, and it went for a while, and also it's very like the text is filled with lots of demeaning language, and like I don't want to hear that. I'm glad that this book exists. I think you should consider reading it. It was just disappointing to me because I don't know. I guess I just wish I liked it more. Like, I wouldn't say I liked it, but I don't. I don't hate it or anything. It's just like the going in with lots of expectations. You understand. Finally, we have Citizen, an American Lyric by Claudia Rankine. This is not chronological, because Citizen I read during the summer, and Beautiful Lives I read during the fall. But anyways, this is another top 100 books, and I had read a poem by Claudia Rankine called "Don't Let Me Be Lonely at the Airport Security Checkpoints." I actually performed it. Sorry, someone's playing the piano. But I don't know. It was all over the place. The book Citizen and American Lyric was just all over the place. It didn't have a plot. It was just I did not understand it. Maybe that's the main problem. Excuse me. I didn't burp, but I held it in. You didn't need to know that. Maybe yeah. Maybe it's just a little too above my head. I don't think I've returned it yet, so maybe I'll read it again sometime. But I thought it would be like poems that I'm used to, like 6 line, they rhyme or whatever. This was more free verse, and there was some images as well, which I didn't really have a problem with specifically, but that's just something that I wanted to acknowledge. And those are all the books. How many we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's not bad, because I read 104 books, and 114 of those were disappointing, or the most disappointing. So that means, what, 90 of them weren't the most disappointing. I read a lot of books that I didn't, like, I shrugged my shoulders at this year, but I also read books that I really like. And you can check out that video, which is out now, about my favorite books, and I am going to film, right after I film this video, books that I liked, kind of like honorable mentions, not books that I love this year, but books that I liked. So, yeah. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later. This is fun. That unedited. I'll definitely, maybe I should make this like a playlist or something, because this is gonna happen again. I can just feel it. All right. See ya.